If the jukebox disappeared, I might get better. Begin to see a smile back on my face, while it sits here in the corner. I'm a bleeding-hearted mourner. Won't somebody take the jukebox from this place?
At home with Tracy and the Big D, and joining me right now is Ross McGregor. Ross has got an album out called Countrified, and we thought we might catch up and find out a little bit more about it. G'day, Ross. 2 singles already off the album, and it's going great guns.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
Before we get into the actual singles on there, why this type of album, why this sort of feel? Is this the Ross McGregor feel that it's always been, or has it changed over the years?
I've always been into that style of country music since I was probably in my 20s.
I think it's making a big comeback too. I think see a lot of things where country music or any music of any genre seems to do a big wheel, and I think a lot of people sort of went, it's going poppy and now it's going back traditional. What are your feelings on that?
Well, I think a lot of it's very kind of pop orientated. When I was growing up, I used to listen to artists like Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard and Johnny Cash and Elvis Presley and Roy Orbison and Rick Nelson and the Stone Canyon Band. Later on, the Eagles, and so I always listened to that sort of stuff, and then really got into the early 90s Australian country stuff like Lee Kernion and all the other acts that were creating a new sort of Australian sound from the American sort of country stuff.
Now, the album out at the moment is Countrified. Now, on the album, I noticed we've got 2 originals and we've also got some covers there. And there's millions of songs out there. How do you choose which 9 to put onto an album?
Well, when I come back from Tamworth last year, I started getting songs from some various friends that I know, like Don North and Melwood and other people. I got some demo stuff off them, plus other songs that I'd sort of heard through the years and wanted to do my own take on them. So I had about 25 songs that I'd picked and went up to Simon's studio and went through them all up there, and me and Simon picked all the musicians out between us, because I knew most of them, so I was very lucky to get the best in Australia, just about. We took it from there.
Tell us who's actually on this album, because it's an incredible lineup.
Simon Johnson played bass and did all the production. Brad Bergen did the drums. Travis Collins played acoustic. Duncan Toombs on electric guitars. Tommy Grasso played pedal steel. I've known Tommy for a long time because he plays in my own Ross McGregor Band country shows that I do around the Central Coast and that. And Nick Orbeck did the fiddle. For the first time I got piano on my stuff. A guy Simon knows called Vaughan Jones. And then I contacted Rob McCormack and he said he'd do the harmonies for me. Another fellow named Brendan Bradford, who comes from Queensland, but I think he's got quite a lot to do with the Tamworth Festival now. So I was very lucky to get the people I got.
If you can, folks, get onto Ross's website, grab a copy of or pre-order the copy of the album, because I believe we've run out of albums at the moment, which is a great thing, but there's more coming.
There's more coming.
But grab a copy of it and just read through the cover and everything like that, and have a look who is on these albums, because between them all there, they've covered every single Australian country music artist and some overseas ones as well.
There's a few obscure ones here. I had demos of different stuff that I've got. Some of them I got from Rod back in the 90s, people like Don North, and that had some demo stuff from American singer-songwriters, so some of those came from there. I got 2 originals from Mel that I revamped and did my own thing on them.
Well, talking about that, the first one that you released off the album, tell us a little bit about that one. That was
that's the song called If the Jukebox Disappeared. Mel had some lyrics for it, but no music. I told him I wanted to do some stuff for the album, picked some originals, and he said, I'll try this one. But there was no music to it, so basically I created the music and the arrangement on that. It's got that real sort of Texas swing kind of thing going on it.
The second single that you've got out there is 10,000 Pieces, and it's a song, basically, your heart's breaking, and it's quite interesting. You hear a lot of songs that are about the heartbreak and things like that, and it's a real slow country ballad, but this one's a little bit up-tempo. Yeah,
I kind of wanted to do something like that, because like you said, you hear stuff about that, and they're all slow, weepy songs, and I wanted to do something that would be songs about that sort of stuff, but with a beat to it that you think, wow, yeah, this is good, and you can get up and dance to it and stuff.
You just said then it's still something that you'd like to get up and dance to because there's dance restrictions at the moment. So how are you going at the moment? Is anything opening up for you for as far as gig goes?
I did my last gig in March. I've heard that there's some things starting up maybe next month.
Oh, let's hope so.
That's when I do my country shows. I play with usually Tommy on pedal steel or Damien O'Dell, Greg Franks on guitar. He played on 2 tracks on the album. And a guy named Brad Rose and Richard Isles, who's a bass player. They're all from Newcastle area. When I do shows with them, we cover stuff from my album, and we do like Alan Jackson's White Yoke and a little bit of Keith Urban, a couple of Roy Orbison ones, the Eagles. We cover a whole range of country stuff.
That's the main thing, isn't it? Getting you back out there to play. So for people that at home that are thinking, okay, we are waiting and looking for venues to reopen and things like that, if they want to find out where you've got something coming up, what's the best way for them to do that, Ross?
When I get gigs, I put them on my website gig guide page. Unfortunately, there's nothing there at the moment.
Yeah, I think
But I also put them on my Facebook page when something's coming up.
All the W's, rosscomcgregor.com, and then the Facebook again is just Ross McGregor, and you'll find it on there. Yeah. Well, Ross, thanks so much for joining us today. The album is called Countryfied. Ross McGregor is the name. Thanks for joining us, and we hope we'll catch up with you when we have the next single out.
10,000 pieces, a million tears, 500 I love yous still ring in my ears. You promised forever, and I believed it. Now I've got one broken heart in 10,000 pieces.